Hi, I'm Dr. Khurram Shaukat Yousafzai with an interesting video about the 11th Classic Club Cars Rally from Pak-Afghan border known as Durand Line, which divides Afghanistan and Pakistan. This line is actually the Karakoram mountainous range. Karakoram mountains are the rooftop of the world. They extend from the north of Pakhtunkhwa, starting from Chitral and the areas beyond Chitral in the north called the northern areas, Gilgit and Baltistan, and it comes down towards Peshawar and then further south towards Banu, Waziristan and then Balochistan. So this very tall mountainous range are called the Karakoram mountainous range, also known by the other name as the Hindu Kush mountains or the Suleiman range. The Suleiman is the name of the prophet Suleiman of the Israelites, because the Pashtuns who live here are known to be the descendants of the 12 sons of the prophet Yaqub or Jacob. So the mountainous range which divides this area of Pak-Afghan border is known as the Suleiman range of the Karakoram. So the classic car club enthusiasts, they took their old car which was more than 50 years old and they brought them here to the Khyber Pass, and then they showcased their cars, and then they went in a form of a car rally towards Peshawar. The Khyber Pass is the pass which is between this Karakoram mountainous range. So if you look at the definition of a pass, is actually an area from where roads and other means of transportation passes through the mountains. So Khyber Pass is one of them, and Torkham is the place which is situated right on this Khyber Pass at the Durand Line Pak-Afghan border. And this Khyber Pass is very historical because this is the way towards the graveyard of empires, which is Afghanistan, because so many empires died over here. For example, starting from the ancient king Cyrus, whom wrote the constitution called the Cyrus Cylinder of Iran, who came and he had been ruling over this Afghanistan, Pakistan area. And then came the Huns. After the Huns came the Macedonian, the Greeks called the Alexander the Great. Then came the Mongolians, Chinese, the Genghis Khan, and then the Mughals, their grandson. And after that came the British. The British were later preceded by the Russians, the Americans. They all lost in this Afghanistan, Pakistan area called the graveyard of empires in the Pashtun belt, which lives among these mountainous ranges. So this Khyber Pass is very historical, and it is about 40 kilometers long from Torkham border to Peshawar, and Peshawar is represented by the Khyber monument, the end of Khyber Pass. The Khyber monument was made in 1960s by a military dictator called President Ayub Khan to actually begin the great game, which is the cat and mouse game between the superpowers, which at that time was America and Russia, and before that was the Britain and the Russia. So Khyber Pass is very historical. It has a lot of 2,000-year-old, which is in the BC era, ruins of Buddhist, because the Buddhist empire or the Gandhara empire was actually born in the Indus Valley, which is right here in Peshawar. And in the west, the Buddhist ruins extend up to Jalalabad area, and in the east up to Taxila in Punjab. And in the middle, Mardan and Sawabi and Swat is the rich area of the Gandhara civilization. Indus Valley civilization is known to be older than that of the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. And this is the oldest civilization of mankind. And all the European languages have origin from this Indus Valley civilization. And the name of India comes from this river, which is formed by the snow melting in the Karakoram mountainous ranges in the north of Pakhtunkhwa, where there are 150 mountains above the above the height of 7,000 meters or 7 kilometers above the sea level, and it's also known as the rooftop of the world. The melting snow makes the river Indus, which divides Pakistan into two half parts. On the western part is Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and in the eastern part is Punjab and the Sindh province. The Indus river gives tributaries to the east called the five rivers, Punjab, and to the west is the western tributaries. So this Khyber Pass is actually connecting the Afghanistan to this Indus River and Indus Valley, and this has a lot of historical significance which has not been known. The Classic Cars Club, which holds this event in the winters, is very historical because this is the 11th time in 2020 this event was held by the organizers, and the enthusiasts brought their more than half a century old cars, which were restored to perfect condition, to Landi Kothal in the Khyber Pass. And then when the car rally was moving through the Khyber Pass on the roads, it was given an honorary salute by the military personnel called the Khyber Rifles, and the cars rode perfectly on the road till Peshawar. And then the enthusiasts also enjoyed the ride with their classic cars. And the people of Khyber district, because before it was Khyber agency, because it was a separate province this last 150 years because of the British policies to divide and rule the Pashtuns, who provided the maximum resistance to the British Empire. And currently, a year or two ago, merger was announced, and now it is part of Pakhtunkhwa called Khyber district now. So the people of Khyber district also enjoyed these lovely cars, and they were standing on the road looking at their favorite cars and waving at them, and they had a fabulous time. And this part of the Khyber Pass looked as if we were traveling 200 years in the past, maybe in 1800s or 1750s, because nothing has changed because of the policies of the British. And then 75 years under Pakistan, they did not change anything. These 7 districts of which are previous tribal areas has no university to date, and the people mostly are not educated, and they still live in their mud houses, as you can see. Most of the residents who migrate from here to Pakhtunkhwa main cities are educated, but most of the people over here were not educated, but they still loved the cars, as you would see in a moment when the kids line the road and they wave at the cars. So it was like a journey in the time in the past. They clapped and they laughed and they enjoyed. even the kids love those lovely cars, and this was a great day for them. The Khyber district needs to have a lot of universities and a lot of money and investment which is not coming for upbringing them, and the policies of the government of Pakistan is not to develop them for some unknown reasons, but and they continued with the same British policies. They continued with the same British policies which continue until today. So the ride through the Khyber Pass was really good, and we really saw the old Buddhist ruins along with the new mud houses, and with maybe a few modern cars, which were coming. And because it's actually the road connecting Afghanistan to Pakistan, and since Afghanistan is a landlocked country, it does not have a port. It depends entirely on the Khyber Pass and the trade of Pakistan, which connects it to the port of Karachi, because Afghanistan, all trade, everything which comes and goes to Afghanistan is done through the Karachi port. And this Khyber Pass is really important for them. But because of the war and the civil war in Afghanistan between the Islamists and the normal people, there is not much trade, but still they depend 100% on this Khyber Pass. The total distance is about 40 kilometers from the Durand line to Peshawar, which is not much, and there was an old railway line over here which is not being used for last 75 years for the trade purposes. Even the British made it in 1898 and 1927-25, this railway line. It has never been used for trade purposes. Mostly it was used for the tourists, for some weird policies which is not understandable. But the roads are the only means of transportation for Afghanistan to Pakistan, and from Pakistan to Afghanistan. The mountains are barren. There is no irrigation and no water. It's a water deprived area, so there is no agriculture, and the people over here are poor because of that, and they depend on the small stream which flows from the mountains, especially the water supply in the Ali Masjid area, which is right here. I thank you very much for watching the video, and I hope you subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.